I haven't filmed a lot of longer videos because I've been so busy with this, but just a quick overview before I start doing some testing and check out on all the wiring and functions tonight. Got my stepper motor controller squeezed in here. I finished up this, mounting the stepper motor. Made a little bracket, shimmed it up the right height. Come out nice, hopefully it operates nice. And I'm not completely done with all this, but there's the control box. There's a power box and whatnot. Power supply for the stepper motor and my motor starters and all that stuff. So I don't have no big fancy TV yet for the wall. Monitor won't reach hardly anywhere. Let you all follow along as I set up the YourDyno equipment. I've obviously had a look around the software and read up on some things and got familiar with the software on the bench in the house trying to set up the stepper motor for the hydraulic brake control. But other than that, I really haven't, set one of these up before. So I'm just going to kind of start from scratch. The only thing I did last night is open up the software and open up the little relay plug-in and operate some relays and run my hydraulic motor and do some electrical checkout. So go to options here and RPM frequency channel. So load cell RPM, I've got a, I'm going to show it to you here. I've got the trigger wheel from YourDyno mounted down at the far end just because it was the easiest place to mount it on, of course, the braked set of rollers. Then I made a little bracket and mounted the sensor. It'll be cool when I have a TV on the wall. Anyways, I'm no professional videographer. I'm using a ladder as my GoPro stand tonight. But anyways, this load cell RPM configure, and there we go. What do you know? It's already set up for the YourDyno trigger wheel. It's got 30 teeth on it. Alright, so I put that on there last night, show the RPM. So I'll go over here and roll the roller. And there you go. Wow. As you can see, I can make a good 200 horse with my Mighty Python arms. No. Alright, anyways, I tend to believe RPM is probably reading accurate. I think I might throw the old original dyno box computer on it, hooked up, because the RPM sensor for that's still here at the other end, and put a car on it and spin it, and there you go. Prove that out, but I'm sure that's accurate. The next big thing is calibrating the load cell, which I have not done before. I started to on the old setup, and then I ended up getting this YourDyno equipment way sooner than I planned. I was like, I'm not even going to mess with it. I'm just going to go ahead and start on and upgrading to YourDyno. So at some point we'll have to do this MOI setup, which should be fun. Basically to take into account the inertia of the dyno rollers. But that's for later. Well, we can do this real quick. So I've got a thermocouple wired into the water, or into the brake box where the hydraulic brake is, to monitor the water temperature. It's definitely not supposed to get above 140. Before, when I was running the dyno manually, I was kind of kicking on the water at around 110, 115. So, and I hope to do some stuff. My brother's helping me with the coding on the relays, the USB relay setup for the eBay board. And I hope later on to be able to have a third-party plug-in, like alarms, like water temp gets to here, make an alarm, which you've got that on the gauges, so I don't know, you know, how far we'll pursue that, but basic dyno setup. I've got a brake dyno with a load cell. Attempt to calibrate the load cell. Alright, torque arm length to load cell. So, this is what you got. I know that this weight I have is not going to do it, but for initial setup and not a lot of power for testing, we can at least figure it out. So, it's just sitting there. I'm going to do the 0 calibrate. Jumping around a little bit. So my calibration weight is going to be 50 pounds for now. Torque arm length, I need to measure again. That should be the distance from there to there. Say that's 12 inches. Put in 12 inches. We'll zero this once more. I'm going to attempt to balance this weight on here very carefully. And it mentions letting it sit for a minute or two. Let it settle out, temperature and stuff. Alright, I clicked load calibrate and it went straight to 50 pounds, and so that gives me a pretty good feeling about it. We'll remove the weight and back to 0. It also seems to be a lot less jumpy, which is good. Anyways, what I need to do now is figure out how many steps it actually takes for 0 to 100% on the larger gear. How many steps of the little gear, technically, it takes to get all the way to 100% brake output. So instead of 200 now, it didn't really go that far, obviously. You can see the gear reduction there. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll take it up to, I don't know, 800 or something. And I'll slide the slider up, and we'll see where we end up. So there's about 50%. There's 100%. And you can see that's up there. 100% would be all the way down there. So I'll just go ahead and run it back. And it's working fairly smooth. I still got some adjusting to do with the way I mounted the motor and all that, but I'll worry about that later. And when you got 800 steps, I mentioned the speed. Wasn't sure about that. Obviously, now we see that can be much higher, because by the time we get done with this, we're going to be probably 1300. I'm going to go ahead and do 1100. I'm trying not to overshoot it. very close. Very, very close. And I have not yet, when I was running this dyno in manual with just a increase and decrease load push buttons, I've not took it to max out the pressure gauge or max out the brake yet. So for now, I think I'm going to leave it there because that is close enough to max to suit me, probably for a very long time. Now we'll play with the speed. Let's see. I have no idea really. Just work it up and see how it reacts. And Mr. Titus really wants to help. Alright, so I have a feeling that's still not going to be quite fast enough. I have no idea yet. We'll try 500. I must say, I'm pretty happy. So far, I have tested the RPM of the rolls, tested the brake, got it set up with the stepper motor. I haven't shown in this video yet, but I've got a relay board controlling my hydraulic motor for my brake. Let's just go through these settings for reference. You know, we already went through some of this, lightly calibrated the load cell. Have not done the moment of inertia. We're not messing with inertia dyno. Probably have to look into that later. Noise filtering I'm not going to play with until I spin the rollers with the car. Auto save on, all that. This I'm sure you all have already read if you're looking into YourDyno, but built-in temperature, ambient pressure, and relative humidity. That's pretty nice. Pretty nice to have. Like, I'm just kind of going through this because half of it I don't understand yet, and I know that. We'll revisit this when I get the proper thermocouple. I don't have any aux channels yet, but I will be using, I hope, Innovate LC1 or 2, whatever it is, for wideband on some vehicles. And I would also like to wire in a pressure sensor just for reference mainly. I mean, I got my stepper motor and I should no problem be able to log brake output percentage, but I would like to be able to log this pressure just because. So I'll throw a sensor in there, and I already pulled the wires most of the way there. Brake controller setup, we just did that. Unit selection, company logo. Wow, what do you know? Big Perm Garage. Hotkeys. I have not changed any of these, but speaking of hotkeys, my brother, computer genius, is working on a plug-in similar to the KM-Tronic one, like this, except for the eBay relay board. And I think there's a guy who had started to do that. And anyway, see, we've got this right now. This comes with YourDyno, and it works with the eBay relay board, which is like $7 or $8. Click the relay on. I've got it picking up a motor starter over there. Two of them. One for the water pump, one for hydraulics. I might put a fan on one, and then this one, I'll wire it into my solenoid that is originally on this dyno was a load, unload, like you can stop all hydraulic pressure. It was just a toggle switch. But I've got that wired in to control that solenoid. But my brother is working on code to be able to have the automated auto on, auto off stuff for the relay output. So say start spinning the rollers, 100 RPM, hydraulic motor kick on, and then I plan to have, once I got the proper thermocouple, have my water pump kick on and off based off the water temperature in the brake box. So there's that. I need to look through all these, decide what I want, what. I've got a wireless keyboard on the way. Some of them pretty easy to understand. New run, start the run, blah, blah, blah. But some of this I'll have to kind of think about and decide what I want to use. You can show results versus any of these. It's just sweet. And then this is where you can configure the splash screen. After you do a run, it'll go, oh, look, you made a lot of power, or none at all. And that's where you upgrade the firmware stuff. So that's a real loose overview from someone who doesn't fully understand it yet. But I've had a couple people online already ask about it, and I'm trying to do my best, because there's other guys that have shown bits and pieces along with Justin that made this great software and YourDyno system. His videos are very informative. And then there's some other guys like Hunter Tuned. I started looking into, because I almost bought a Clayton dyno, and I'm glad I come across the one I did, because it's got bigger rollers and I think it's much more suitable. But I mean, his videos, just the stuff he's went over, has helped me understand a lot. And there's a few other guys, one I actually found today. But anyways, that's all I can think of at the moment. I don't know for sure if I'm ready or not, but I think I'm gonna get the old dirty daily loaded up.